Everyone has a podcast now.
Well, yeah, true, but
Okay, well, we'll start from there.
okay.
I think this is the first time you've ever been on anything of the
Yes.
channel, because I think you were in one clip a while ago, but it was like for a split second. So
It's usually done without my.
my mom works behind the scenes. Yeah,
I'm not signing any contracts or anything.
my mom's been a big fan of the War Room for the last. I mean, since COVID started, so my mom's like, I need a podcast.
The War Room? No, before COVID.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, could be. I know you've been watching the War Room for a while, but
Yeah.
my mom, typical fashion, comes downstairs. She's like, I'll do the podcast if I get 90% of the profits. I was
That's
like,
right.
Mom, 90% of zero is zero.
I'm not signing any paperwork, so.
But Mom's birthday was this week. We just went to a birthday dinner.
Yes.
I won't lie to you, I feel a little bloated from dinner, but it was
Same
nice.
here.
I like that
It's
place.
Very nice. It was very
It was
nice.
a big problem. So,
It was a good night. Didn't rain.
I
air conditioned.
struggled between sushi and the burger. Of course, I went with the
We
burger.
went with the burger. And that delicious dessert.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I pigged out. That's what my mom said. I pigged out a little bit.
Well, we had to draw the line with you blowing up my candle.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if Dad said that beforehand, that it was your birthday or something.
I don't know
So,
about that.
they gave me the whatever it was, some chocolate dessert. They gave me a candle. I was like, "Let's go!" Not realizing it was my mom's birthday.
Ma, you're taking too long. Make the wish. I want the cake.
I'll fucking do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Anyway, so the way I usually do this, Mom, normally I would start with I'd go through the week and stuff.
Okay.
Won't do that today, just because we have a lot to go through.
Okay.
Want to keep it a little more political. A lot of this stuff is I'm just 50-50 gaming, which I know you don't care about, but the other 50-50 is actual political stuff. So we'll start from the bottom, work our way up. If you want to input anything into
Okay.
gaming, not that you'll know anything, but
Hey.
my mom's video game knowledge is about Fortnite.
Hey. I don't know Fortnite.
And Bobo's here too, as you guys can tell. He's inseparable from Mommy.
All I know is I could hear Chris sometimes when you're doing your gaming and some girl is screaming in the background.
That's
It's like
Brittany,
some scary
yeah.
game the whole time.
Yeah, that was back when Brittany wanted to do horror games more often. I was like, okay, fine.
Well, to which I say, why do you play them if you're just going to get scared and scream the whole time?
Content, Mom.
Yeah, well,
Why do you think you're here? Content. Okay. So, well, I mean, you could help me with this. So, rumor of new Oculus Quest 2 rival couldn't come at a worse time for Meta.
Yeah.
So, right, Oculus is Facebook's
Yep.
VR. So, that's my Oculus. You've
Yes.
used that a couple times. So, the reason that this couldn't come from a worse time is, Meta's doing very, very poorly.
Poorly, yes.
Yeah. Now, I think the reason for this is, one, Facebook's kind of died out. I don't know anyone that
Yes,
really uses
I
Facebook
agree.
anymore. But to come up with a Quest 2 is not the best move right now, especially because the VR world of gaming, it's not that great. Remember, when it first came out, everyone was like, this is revolutionary. And,
well, I know they're running into all sorts of problems because it was some questionable activities were going on.
yeah, I mean,
in
Facebook's
the
had
Meta
problems.
universe.
Facebook's had problems for at least 4 years now.
Right.
I mean, since the election, but.
Well, it's been a bit of a problem for them because
Yeah.
they were trying to launch it, and now you can't. Now it's biting them on the ass because they can't control it.
Yeah,
Which has
yeah.
always been our issue, and you don't know who's a 5-year-old little kid and who's a 50-year-old man dressed like a 5-year-old little kid.
Yeah, that's one part of Meta.
Come on.
Mom's talking a little bit more about my mother. I should say my mother. She's not our mom. It's not everyone's mom.
Universal mom.
The universal mom.
You all wish.
Yeah. So new Oculus Quest. The other reason for this is just because VR, the steps of VR in technology generally, technology moves very fast. I forget what the law is called, but it's almost like VR games haven't kept up with that. We expected these crazy things. A game a long time ago, the first year VR came out, there was a game called Half-Life, Alex.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's the most realistic game I've ever played. And you played that Star Wars
Yes.
one? Remember that Star Wars one? Where it was unbelievably
Well,
realistic?
you had me do that mystery room one. We never finished it, where you make decisions.
Yeah.
Based on the decision, it takes you through to the next phase. You remember that one?
The
It was
only
a murder of some sort, and it was a detective who came in, and you were in different rooms.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
escape
yeah.
room one. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were talking about Detroit Become Human. That wasn't VR. That was the one we did in the at the TV, remember? That was the one that was destroy the
Yeah.
androids. That's
Yeah,
different.
no, this was a VR one, I
Yeah.
thought.
But since then, since those games came out, which were very realistic,
Yeah.
nothing's really come out. So it's almost like all the companies have put a halt to VR gaming because
The demand's not there.
demand's not there.
Yeah.
The games coming out aren't up to par of like that Star Wars game,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe there's one that just takes 8 years to make, but no one wants to wait 8 years when big AAA games like Call of Duty comes out once a year,
Right.
sometimes every other year. But that's a different topic because that's not VR. Obviously, VR takes a lot more. But I kind of understand. I completely get why the Quest 2 is coming out at such a bad time. I mean, they're losing money like crazy. I mean, I don't even... Facebook stock's got to be below zero.
Well, I'm curious too if there's a reality that the irony that it's young people don't have the attention span to do VR. Because there's a sensory learning curve when you're not used to it, right? I experienced
That's
that.
fair. Yeah, like Grant gets a lot of headaches when he's doing VR. We did a long time ago when we first did VR. Grant and I used to play a game called Pavlov, which is like a military simulator.
Yeah,
We did it for like 6 hours. It was a 6-hour recording.
yeah.
Grant was like crying by the end because he couldn't stand anymore. His head hurt. My feet were hurting too.
Right.
Ended up getting rid of all the footage. It was so bad. I felt so bad. It was like, you freaking got rid of 6 hours of footage.
I don't mean that though. Like, obviously, people are getting physically harmed, but I meant more when you're in that virtual reality world. It takes a while. Maybe it's my age, but it takes a while to adjust to that. Let alone be good at doing a game and something like
Well,
that.
I hear people who wear glasses, like who don't have good vision, that can cause a lot. Cause
Oh, that's true. I never thought of that.
Because I know you wear glasses, or you.
Yeah, but I'm not relying on them, and that's why I don't know. I just think the irony that I don't think young people have the patience to transfer over to a virtual reality world.
I think attention span in general is just bad.
Right, and that might be part of why it didn't take off right away. Plus, it's not cheap.
That's why yeah. Oh my god.
You know?
Well, that is the cheap one, right? That was $350. A Valve Index is $1,000 to start
Right, and you're talking about
for 5 games.
Yeah, but
5
you know,
games possibly.
yeah, that's true. The gaming side of it, you would know better the cost wise. But how much do parents pay for the PS4s and whatnot?
Well, not
Those
to
are
mention the
hundreds and hundreds of
space.
dollars.
The space.
Right.
Most people don't have the space for VR, right?
Right.
This one, I barely. You guys can't really see it. The camera's pretty much up against the wall.
Yeah.
But I only have probably like a 6x6, maybe, and even then, it's not. I can't use all of it, especially now that we have the podcast stuff here.
Right.
So I could use that room, but to get my computer over to there, you need a lot of extensions for VR to work. It's just not worth it.
Right.
Like very few people have the space, but I guess the also the target market or target audience is people who have the financial capability to have this stuff.
Right, and
Like a
I
kid in an
don't.
apartment's not gonna.
I never knew about Oculus. I mean, I knew about PS4s and the Wii and all that stuff just from advertising everyday stuff. You told me about the Oculus, and even since then, I never hear much about VR in general.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of advertising. You don't. Maybe you see it in gaming sites.
I see it more
But-
with like with Uncle's work. Kenny and I don't disclose what we do on stream,
Yeah.
because Uncle has us under a lot of NDAs, which is fine. But we do some stuff with AR. That's the only push I've really seen of VR being used
Right.
in a video game world. I think the cost of making a VR game,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, as to versus like actual technical developments,
Yeah.
it's more financially viable to do more technological developments rather than focus on video games.
Well, yeah,
In
because
a-
the platforms are there, they're in place. The companies could churn them out. People have the apparatuses to run those. So now you're moving into a whole other realm with things you got to add, like you said, space. Get used to this Oculus. I mean, think about it. A 5-year-old now, their learning curve might be faster than yours and mine because they're like little blobs that you can mold, but they still have to get used to doing Paw Patrol in virtual
Paw Patrol.
reality, or
Right,
whatever
yeah.
they decide to do. And
to
there's a
your
learning
point, the
curve for that.
attention span. I mean, video games, I think, does capture the attention. Like video games, kids can sit down and play for hours.
Right.
When it comes to consuming content, I completely agree. Like the whole reason TikTok's so successful is because it's a minute long. Now it's more, but
Right.
Even we see it as YouTubers, we see it in our analytics. Like most people stop watching by, it's like the 1 minute 30 mark,
Yeah.
which is exactly where TikTok ends, right?
Right.
So unless you have a I think the average retention rate of someone watching a whole video through, mine's like 10%, which is pretty good. I think the average is like a high average is 12,
Right.
and that's like the big YouTubers. Whereas the total average is like 2% or something like that. It's
Interesting enough,
unbelievable.
what I found when you started that, similar to what you're saying about work related, I think the platform for using that for training people for more work related, they've never really tapped into that either, right? Like you were looking at it for doing training. If you did virtual reality training for somebody new to a job and
Yeah.
they had to do certain functions, they I was just watching today. We watched that Dr. Pet show, and a new vet was learning a new surgery from the experienced vet. That's the type of stuff where you could simulate it to some extent, and use it to train 100 people on a
Yeah,
particular
so
type of
that's
surgery.
a little more. So what my mother's talking about is a while ago. One of the things I can't disclose. We were working on a company it was a water company, and one of the things that they had to do was change out these water meters. And basically, the thought was, what if we did it in VR? We basically rebuilt the model of that water meter in VR,
Right, for
and then
training.
did it for training. It was actually a genius idea. It saved a lot of money.
And that was before COVID.
Yeah,
Think
that
about
was-
that.
yeah.
I mean, that was forethought on Uncle's part. But
Yeah, it was a good idea,
yeah.
but.
I don't think he intended it for that, but it was a perfect
Yeah,
platform for it.
because at that point we were doing something with Google for an AR project, and that's how that came to be. So we kind of ended up scrapping that idea and using it for something else, which can't be disclosed.
But the
so.
concept itself, I'm surprised that us not just the gaming aspect.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
it didn't take off, or maybe at some point it will, obviously. But the virtual reality, where you're doing more you're not
Yeah.
watching a
It-
surgery,
yeah.
but you're
It's almost
interacting with
better.
surgery.
It's almost better for helping in real world situations than for gaming. That's probably the best way of putting it.
Right, yeah.
Like,
I think
even though we
it's-
can game, there's no, and most people don't have computers like mine that can actually handle.
That's right.
Yeah,
That too.
that's the
yeah,
other
I
half.
mean, there's
These
a lot
actually,
going on.
though, I'm on a different article right now, but the Oculus is actually made for phones.
What do you
So
mean it's made for
you can get games on
phones?
your phone, and it has all like the computer components built in,
Oh,
but everything's scaled down. So if that's 1080 by 1920 like
Yeah.
resolution,
Yeah.
that one's like 420 by whatever because it's on a screen that's that big.
right.
So it's a little different.
But you still have the virtual reality world in your
Yeah,
goggles.
and there's
Oh,
a little
interesting.
delay and all that stuff, but because I have the original, now they make that without the cords.
Okay,
which I
again,
can
no
do.
one's gonna have patience for that in the young world.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next one in gaming: sales of Nintendo Switch dip as chip shortage continues to bite. Now, this has kind of changed a little bit because we'll get into this later, but a silicone chip thing.
Those were hot during COVID.
Mine's right there.
I know.
Right, Mary
but you
got
got
one.
it before.
Yeah.
But they were very hard to come by.
Yeah, during COVID. Yeah,
So-
everyone wanted to play Animal Crossing, which was like the really popular game
But
that every
before
girl
that,
wanted.
people
yeah.
weren't dying for them, right?
Oh,
So
you
something
know.
about COVID that triggered people wanting. Now, I don't know if it was older people wanting it, meaning your
My
age,
yeah.
20s and older. So to say that it dipped, chip shortage, okay, maybe, but I think that also has something to
Exactly.
do with the
That's-
COVID ending.
You nailed that one. So
Yeah.
I also think that the other thing about the Switch, same thing with Oculus, which is why I put it next. Not too many games for it. You
Yeah.
have Mario,
Because
Zelda.
it wasn't popular.
Yeah.
It really. You
Yeah.
were the only person I know that asked for a Switch
And
a long
that's
time ago.
so I have the original Switch where I can actually use it on the TV if I want to. Like I'll bring it to my grandmother's when we go, just because sometimes grandma's wants to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
My grandma's like my number one supporter when it comes
That's
to
right.
me.
That's right.
So
She has
that one,
no clue what he does, but she thinks it's great.
Yeah, she's like, oh my god. I was playing. I forget what Zelda I was playing. I have it over there, but she's like, can you explain this whole story to me? I'm like, I'm trying, Graham. It's hard, but
Then again, she still cries over Michael's Lego.
yeah, my yeah, girl.
The Bird of Paradise.
So that's my
Lego.
mom's mom. Just
Yes.
she'll be on the podcast one day. I gotta
You
get
gotta
grandma
get
on.
grandma on.
But yeah, so now they make those switches where, as great as they are, now they make them so that they don't go to a TV. It's just a mobile device. So no one's
Oh.
really buying. So this is what I mean. They're putting the chips into these ones that people can only use mobile and not on the TV.
Okay.
They've just made terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Right. And now we're having a chip shortage, so it's like it's just getting punched in the. Nintendo just taking hits, mom.
Right.
So
Well, just as an aside, okay? Wisconsin, years ago, under the previous governor, I can't think of his name. It'll hit me. Everybody knows who it is. They got all this authorization. They built a beautiful, it was called Logan something something, plant out there, equipped to do chips in the U.S. Okay? All set up, ready to go. He loses the election, they shut it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be interesting because I think I'm going to blow your mind with some news. But yeah, the Nintendo Switch, as cool as it is, it was a cool concept. It's not. Again, we have computers now that'll do. No one's really using the Switch anymore because I can literally name for you all the games on the Switch, right? Mario,
Yeah.
Zelda,
Yeah.
Super Smash Bros.
Yeah. But again,
Animal Crossing, and that's it.
nobody was interested, and then all of a sudden everybody wanted it with COVID. I don't know why. They were all at home with TVs. Why wouldn't you get a PS4? Why something portable when you're trapped in your house? And they didn't bother making more games for it, as far as I know.
I think that you're right on the head, whatever the saying is, nail on the head or whatever.
You hit the nail on the head, Mom.
I think it's a generational thing because Nintendo, they have all the rights to their games. So, like, there's no Mario for PC or PlayStation or Xbox. So anyone who likes Mario, like Mary is a great example. She doesn't know Call of Duty or whatever. So something like Animal Crossing, which is only Nintendo, you have to have a Switch.
Okay.
So
we're going to call her Mary Grace now because for some reason that's what your grandmother always calls her, Mary Grace.
Mary Grace doesn't.
Never told her to. It's not. Grace isn't even her middle name. So anyhow.
This one, my mom's not going to have anything on, but I thought it was interesting. I should have told Michael this. So Madden 23, so that's the football game.
Yep.
Promises most polished version in a long time after years of buggy releases. So.
Oh, thank God.
So
our prayers have been answered.
My whole life. So every sports game, particularly sports, and I don't know why, it must be the publishers or whatever, they always have the buggiest releases to the point where they either have buggy releases or it's pay to win. So pay to win literally means you put money into the game and you get the characters with skill. Yeah.
Okay.
But Michael can explain it to you, but I don't play any sports games.
In my day, we call that cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
if I noticed called pay to win, I could have thrown that at the nuts.
I'm gonna have to throw. I have to throw Alan Kinsey under the bus. Alan, everyone knows Alan, but Alan puts so much money into FIFA, and what annoys me about the Mom, like we're talking, sorry, Alan, thousands of dollars into FIFA. And to get these packs that it's imagine if you were opening Pokemon cards, you put thousands of dollars in, and maybe one of them would be worth like $50. If Mrs. Kinsey knew, it would be
maybe if he'd put it into a personal trainer, he'd be playing in Manchester United now.
Yeah. He'd
be Beckham.
A football star. He'd be Beckham. Yeah, no.
Bend it like Alan.
Bend it like Alan. Oh God. Which is funny because he was a goalie. But yeah, so every year they have, same with a lot of every game nowadays for some reason, has buggy launches. I think it's because they're rushing games now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's 100%.
Probably, yeah.
Well, I won't go into too much detail because this is a whole podcast in itself, but Fortnite, Fortnite, kind of changed the game for gaming, like the whole industry.
Yeah.
Because it was a free-to-play game, and then you just had microtransactions, which was like just cosmetic stuff. Right. So Alan put $20,000 into you put a lot of money into Fortnite skins, but those are just skins; they're just cosmetic. These other games, like the newer companies, or not newer companies, but like the big AAA companies that have been around for 10+ years, like Activision, all those.
Activision.
They
Nintendo.
Yeah, they say, hey, we're gonna make you pay $60 for a game, which is standard. Now it's going up to $70, but and we're gonna do microtransactions. So now. Excuse me, they're making so much money, but they're not putting the money back into the game. They're just cashing it.
Oh.
Excuse me. That burger's coming back on, Mom. So when they say Madden's having a more polished version of a game, I go, well, okay, how about we fix all the other issues that Madden has had every single year, which is the pay to win, the bugs that don't get fixed down the line.
I got to tell you, I'm sure somebody's done the research and worked the numbers. And they're better off getting it out and making the changes. They make more money.
Mom, you don't fuck with the gaming community.
Right. No, and
the gaming community. Yeah.
Not Madden. It's been dead how long?
Okay, this one's. So this is a tough one to explain to my mom, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which comes out this September, looks like it confirms
not for nothing, but you're killing me with these.
I got. This is the last one.
It's like knives.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a gaming YouTuber. Holy. She comes down here. She's like, let's move this chair.
I told you, it does not leave the
I
basement.
do not kid around. My mom asked for makeup beforehand. She was like, "Where's my makeup?"
Well, I'm looking at a blog, you know.
We just went out to dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, last one anyway. So DMZ mode confirmed. So DMZ mode, there's a game called Escape from Tarkov, which kind of came out towards the beginning of COVID. It's a whole different genre.
DMZ.
DMZ, like
North Korea?
yeah,
South Korea?
that's exactly what it is. So it's a trying to explain Tarkov to my mother is going to be a
Modern Warfare
different.
looks to confirm DMZ mode.
yeah. So we
Meaning
have
what? They're going to do warfare North Korea versus South Korea?
mom. They start flying in gamers, right?
Oh my gosh.
we start going at each other. So
Well,
we have,
you know, I'm starting to think that might be the solution to our World War problems.
Oh God.
Because imagine if we challenged, like, I don't know, maybe China.
Oh,
Imagine if we
demonetized.
challenged China to a virtual reality war.
Oh, it
and
won't go well for 'em.
whoever wins gets to take over the other country.
yeah. Whatever. But
I think it's time all you little shits put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Y'all think you're good at gaming. What if the free world depends on it?
So anyway, looks to confirm DMZ mode. We were waiting on this because we weren't sure where it was, kind of where it was going. But so Tarkov came out. Tarkov's an indie game that everyone played, and basically it's DMZ zone where basically everyone's on their own. It's kind of like get the best loot and get out.
Yeah.
And if someone kills you, all your loot's gone.
Ooh.
And
Hence,
yeah.
free world. I'm telling you.
so
I'm just saying it on a bigger scale. Okay?
let's just do Squid Games for God's sake.
I know. I'm not kidding.
Um,
I mean, the whole Iraq and Afghanistan war, a lot of that was drones. Servicemen sitting in places hundreds of miles away, working the drones with the computers, taking people out.
I mean, we're not even on politics yet, Mom.
No, I'm saying that's, you know.
People are like, they just want to hear the news on this DMZ, which is a big deal.
All
And my
right.
mom's like,
Sorry.
drone strikes.
I'm in the real world. Sorry.
My mom's like, I just got a 30 kill streak. I want to freaking nuke. Okay, anyway. DMZ mode. So the reason that this is a big deal is because Tarkov's a good game, but indie company, small company, lots of problems, right? We just talked about it. These guys don't have the funds or the time, really. Because I think they're a Swedish company too, so it's like a real hassle for them. So if Warzone can make, or Call of Duty can make a good DMZ style, I don't know what's going to happen to Tarkov. Because why would I play Tarkov if a AAA company, top of the line company, is going to basically make theirs better? And I don't see how they can't copy their idea.
Not for nothing, but can't they do the Madden game too?
Well,
Maybe
different
Madden
types of-
ought to get on his travel bus and take the game.
yeah, they can't. Yeah, they can't really, but I know what you mean. So DMZ Zone's gonna be fun. I don't know how they're gonna do it in the sense of MMRs and stuff, but I'm sure they'll figure something out. I just hope they don't use the Warzone MMR style.
Well, and also when you're fighting for the free world, we don't want any buggy issues.
yeah.
Let's work the bugs out
All right.
before that.
Oh, we'll get off gaming because clearly my mom's bored.
Well, it's not that. It's just...
Unbelievable. All right, we talked about this at dinner. This was so Batgirl filmmakers on Warner Bros. Discovery discarding movie. It's critical. Okay, basically what it's saying is right. Batgirl
Yeah, they can't.
canceled it the second they finished
Yeah.
all recordings and
Yeah.
stuff too. The whole film was done, and then they were like, "We're just gonna throw it away."
$90 million.
You know what hurts the most?
That I'm a Warner Brothers stockholder? Yeah.
Brendan Fraser is in that
Yes.
movie. Everyone loves Brendan Fraser. This was like his big comeback.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He's a little heavy.
What does his size have to do with anything, Mom? Are you fat shaming right now?
Was he the Batgirl?
Was he the Batgirl? No.
Maybe
I don't know
that
who
was the
played-
problem with the movie.
I don't know who played
That's not
Batgirl.
only woke. That's like...
Yeah, but it's weird. I don't know why they would can an entire movie after it's done. I mean, obviously Batgirl's not going to do as well as Batman.
I saw
But-
the headlines. They just were not happy with the film. I think it was long, and
Oh, really?
they
I
just
didn't see
didn't think
anything
it was going to be acceptable.
I won't lie to you. These two don't look like they're big
Yeah,
Batgirl
really.
guys.
Who are they? Who did
Those
it?
are the directors.
Directors and producers.
It's
Okay.
directors Adil El Arbi and Bila Fala.
Did they make it in America? Maybe it's not an American-made film. Warner Brothers is. Maybe they did it. But I
They're in
forget what the
Morocco.
problem was, other than like what you said. They just were not happy with it, and just decided to can it. And I think because it was so expensive. I didn't even know that they were doing a Batgirl, to be honest.
I'm sure. I mean, with Marvel putting out a movie every 3 months, they gotta keep up somehow.
Well, here's what I think what the issue was. They threw Batgirl into the Pattinson Batman movie, right? Made her the secondary
I never
character.
saw it. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, so she's in it. It was played by Zoe Kravitz, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And
Is Zoe the?
she was okay in it. Obviously, they had to throw a little woke in there. She was okay in it, but
Obviously, they had.
she was kind of like a little dark. Well, the whole movie's dark. But I think they were trying to get some leverage off of the fact that they brought that character out in a popular Batman movie and try and do it, we got to spin off the Batgirl because you can't have just Batman, which I think is a little appropriate that it's Batgirl and Batman. If you want to talk woke, why would you go Batgirl? But Batwoman. Batman.
But that's. Wait, what? Say that again? So
Anyhow,
wait,
it doesn't matter. That's not my point.
Explain.
But my point was that I think the character got a lot of attention in the Batman movie, and they decided in this environment,
I see what you're
the
saying.
Batgirl, let's spin off that.
That is canon. There is a Batgirl. It's
I know.
They came up with Batgirl. Yeah.
But my point is, it's kind of funny in this day and age when they try to be so woke that they do a Batman, but they do a Batgirl, not a Batwoman. They didn't update the
Right.
terminology, because Batgirl comes from my day and age when every woman was called a girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's not Batwoman. It's Batgirl.
Right.
Right.
It's Batman. It's not Bat guy or Bat boy, and they still have Batgirl. So I just find that.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if
a little hypocritical.
Now I'm wondering if
for people that are so
chronologically it's Batwoman or Batgirl. I don't know.
Oh, it's always been Batgirl because
it has. Okay.
Well, yeah, because that's the original character. Because we, us poor suffering fools, we were happy we weren't woke, so we were okay with Batgirl. But she was younger too. The original Batgirl was more like Robin's age,
right?
Not Batman. So that's why it was Batgirl.
Which Robin?
The original Robin.
Dick Grayson. I forget which one's the original. But...
Well, for me, it was when comics came out.
Yeah.
It was the TV series.
Right.
There was no Robin when the first Batman movie was made with Michael Keaton. It was just him. Robin was dropped.
Robin was dropped.
Yeah.
The other day after dinner, my youngest brother and I were giving mom and dad the whole Marvel talk.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we were geeking out. I was going through the whole Flashpoint conflicts or whatever.
I think Dad threw up at
that
point.
Yeah, my dad. I can see my dad sitting there and just disapproval. I was like, oh, thanks, man. You sent me this one. Top scientist admits Webb telescope star photo was actually chorizo.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Do you know what chorizo is?
Yeah, it's like a salami or like a pepperoni almost.
Sliced up.
I'll show you guys the picture in the video, but I don't know how.
This doesn't really help when people claim things are like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, "What do you call a doctor that graduates with D's?" Doctor, right? Because so it's kind of this here, like this guy's a well-known French. Oh, he's not even he's a
physicist.
Oh, I struggle with that one. Physicist is apologizing after a viral distant star photo he shared. Twitter was not actually captured by the $10 billion. Hey, that's a pretty big mistake.
I know. He did it on
that's
purpose.
A pretty big F up, yeah.
Yeah, he did it on purpose.
Yeah, just a slice of on purpose? No, he didn't do it on purpose.
Well, one said it was a prank.
That's what I would say if I just made a huge mistake. Oh, I did it on purpose.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it's just a joke, guys. Not very smart. This is the guy. We won't put his face on the thing, but
I wouldn't call it a prank. I would call it a fraud.
A fraud?
Yeah,
really? I would say someone.
If you did it on purpose, you're not doing it as a prank. You're doing it as a fraud. You're trying to get recognition. Somebody finds you out and say, "Oh, I was just kidding." Yeah, okay.
Come on, internet, load the next one.
Gizmodo.
Texas bit miner made millions more in power credits than actually selling Bitcoin. This is interesting because, obviously, Bitcoin's gone down.
Yes.
So these people are using power credits, so they're storing power and selling it off. So I learned with working with Uncle that there's something called carbon credits. Do you know how these work?
Yes.
Have I told you this, Howard?
If you don't, you're given a certain amount of carbon that you're allowed to emit. And the governments regulate, or what they want to regulate it. So if your company doesn't need all the credits, you could sell it to another company that does need to emit more carbon. And that's how you can make.
So
that's how Al Gore can make money.
That's
no, because
Mom's going after everyone.
No, but I'm telling you,
Get the knife.
That's the scam because they own stock in these companies. So it's a joke.
So just let me put it in layman's terms for the viewers who don't really get that. So basically, we have something called carbon credits, which my mom kind of explained. Basically,
watch this.
Hey, these are your viewers too now. You can't call them idiots like that. Only I can call them idiots.
I think we explained it pretty well. I think they understand.
Here's more of like the case scenario. So let's say I'm a coal mining company, right? And I'm using fossil fuels like crazy, and the government's going to come by and they're going to say, hey, you're using a crazy amount of fossil fuels. There's no way you have any carbon credits.
Right.
And then, right, we talk about global warming, especially the left, they talk about global warming. But then you go to these guys, it's like, we know you're burning fossil fuels. How do you have carbon credits?
Right.
Turns out there's companies like this that will save power or be a clean company that generates carbon credits.
Right.
And they just sell off the carbon credits to these big companies for $10 million a credit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's cheap for them. So that's exactly what these people are doing. They're just taking the Texas power grid, storing the power because mining right now is not beneficial to them because they have so many miners that it's just they're using more power than they are generating Bitcoin.
Yes.
So they said, let's just store the power, sell off the power to people that need it.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good business model. Kind of crappy to do because you're stealing from the grid that's already been sold off to China anyway. So,
well, obviously they own, or somehow they're able to capitalize on the excess power that they're not using, and are able to give it back. Now, I would rather have it privatized than have the government doing it. I'd rather companies compete.
They still have a contract with Texas Power and Light, I believe it is. So it is.
Which is
still
a private
government.
company. No, Texas Power and Light it's a private company. It's heavily regulated. But it's one of these like socialist type because it's so heavily regulated by the government. I don't think it's a public utility. I think it is partially private.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm off then because I read it it sounded like they were just storing people's like kind of taking from the people's grid,
right,
and storing it and then basically selling it back to the people,
right,
because they're not generating power, right? They're using the grid,
right,
which is supposed to be used for mining. Instead of mining, they're basically just taking the power.
Yeah, but don't you remember we talked about this with another company that you're familiar with, where they wanted to do tokens to people as an incentive to get them to give up their energy.
That's tokens, though.
Right, but the point was, we're going to use your energy, your power that you're not using, and we're going to monetize that so we can then use that power. So
this is a little different, though, because they are physically taking people's power and saying, hey, we're... Like, let's say we all had an even playing field. Like, we're all taking the same amount of power each. Right? Like, you just regular. Yeah. And then a company comes by, they say, hey, we're going to take all your power to go into mining, so, like, it might be slower for you to charge in that city or whatever.
Right.
And then we're going to sell it back to you.
Right.
That's a lot different than saying, hey, you just have to stop using electric, like, start using solar or whatever just so we can give you money back. That's a little different. Instead, because now I'm asking you to pay for your power back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is, yes, I agree. But, I mean, traditionally is they use the power. You get charged for use of that power. Everybody has equal access to power. But because of the drain that Bitcoin type of power is, they're draining.
We're talking a big company that has hundreds of thousands of miners.
Right. And they're draining. And now we're at a point, obviously, we're in a critical situation with power because the grids are shutting down. And now, as crazy as it is, they keep pushing the electric cars, electric this, electric that. That all requires power. So we're going in the opposite direction. You're almost encouraging these people to do more of that power selling because everything is becoming electric power based.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, with the carbon credits, same thing. Now, we talked about this at dinner, and my mom didn't get to see this, but remember that Korean pop star that I was telling you, the backup singer that took the... Hey, watch this.
Oh!
Right?
Ooh.
So, the little update on that, I think I told you this. I might have said this to whoever was in chat the other day. So, fortunately, he's not completely paralyzed. He has a certain level of paralysis. It sounds like they're going to be able to
Reverse it?
with
Okay.
like therapy and stuff, so he should get all of his movement back. But what's interesting is that they banned the band for this. So the band is the one that gets hit, like hurt. I think this was in Korea. I forget the story, but they go, "Hey, we saw that there was an injury. You're banned from the country. You're never allowed back here." So it's their venue. It's like someone getting hurt in our house and then going, "Hey, you're banned from the house."
Yeah. I don't want you back.
Yeah, I don't want
hurt
you
my house.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of weird how that. Like, how do you ban? Ooh, Bubba, watch that chord, buddy.
I think
No,
what's
I think
weird
that-
is somebody writes at the top, "Hope he's okay."
Yeah, that's just TikTok.
The guy just has his freaking face smashed
just
in.
you just got this
hope he's
demolished.
okay. A model has just landed on his face.
So that's a whole TV, right? That's the TV we were talking about.
God.
Now the edit of it falling over and over again is
I
it
think
makes
you
it
read,
look worse.
hope he's not dead. I mean, okay. Hope he's not
I
paralyzed
mean, his head
for
looks like
life.
he got crushed. Yeah,
Hope they
that was
can
real
identify
close.
it by his teeth.
I hope he can get a lot of money out of it. That's the big one. Okay.
Well, who
So,
knows in those countries?
U.S.
Like you said, they may make you pay for the damage.
Now we get into politics.
Your
now.
head was in the way when the thing fell down.
Yeah, I just can't believe that they banned the band for that.
Yeah, that's
So,
very
yeah.
strange.
That's like, hey, we don't want to take the blame for it. So
Well, we don't know who was to blame. I don't know. Was it their
I have
crew
to agree. It's the
that
well,
put
I
that
would think that
stuff
the
in?
venue sets it up. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's more to that story.
Right,
but
they don't. I don't know. In this country, nobody touches it but union people.
Yeah.
They set it all up, and they're separate from the band. I don't know about other countries. They may have different rules and regs where, but no way in hell is it that guy's fault that fell on him. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't hang it.
I'm just a backup. I'm even in the band, and now I'm a quadriplegic.
Shoot! I should
Oh,
have used
fuck.
another twist tie.
Get the duct tape. Politics. This was today, I believe. What's
I
today?
don't
Today's the
really know
6th?
very much about politics.
Yeah. Then what the hell are you here?
Exactly. I don't really know much.
U.S. Senate Democrat advances $43 billion climate and drug bill. Now, Mom, let me ask you something. Last
Yeah.
time I checked, we're in a recession. A recession that's been redefined.
Yeah.
We're getting $430 billion.
Climate and drug bill.
Yeah. So what this consists of is obviously the climate stuff, which...
Don't worry. There's going to be a big fat stimulus come September.
do we know that for a fact?
It's happening. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Well, what if we all die from monkeypox?
Oh, well, it's, Should we all
So
be
it
that
was
lucky?
basically 50-50, and then, of course, our vice president broke the tie. Surprise, surprise. But this includes...
No, it hasn't gone to the Senate yet.
First key Democrats win sweeping legislation. The Senate voted 51-50 with Vice President breaking the tie during the rare Saturday session to begin. What
Oh,
could
that
be
was
the-
today?
Yeah, that was literally
Oh,
today.
okay. I haven't seen the news. I didn't
Yeah.
realize they did it, voted on it.
You on a
today.
podcast and you're not up to date
I
with the news?
wasn't up to date. I was too busy pulling weeds this morning and floating in the pool. Gal's got to work on her tan. Get her out.
So 50 Republicans voted. Basically, every Republican voted against it, which
Oh, good.
fine. I don't know. I mean, it's what's up, Bobo?
Enjoy paying for that
Yeah,
into your
yeah. So
later
like,
years.
this is what I mean. Now
I'll be long dead.
Yeah, oh God. $430 billion of climate when we're struggling here. I always hate reading stuff like this because it's like, right, like 4 of my friends can't live in their apartments anymore because they can't afford it, and yet now
That's
we're doing
right.
another one of those. Bobo, what's up? I can't have you barking during the podcast. Come on over.
Go find Dad.
Where's your daddy? He'll probably bark, whatever. And then in the medical bill, tax loopholes.
Yeah, so that sweet little diddly, even on top of that, a lot of it is, I think the IRS agents are in that one. So they're adding, 80,000 IRS agents?
80,000.
Yeah, a huge amount of IRS agents. You know what the IRS does?
Nothing except take your money.
Well, they're coming after you guys.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. They want to go after the middle class, and they say, oh, the elites. They're not going after the elites.
Democrats aim to push bull. I just don't know what's in the health care bill. It doesn't really talk too much about it, but
Who
so
knows?
all amendments fearing that. Well, let me tell you this: after going through the health insurance, the Obama thing, it's been such a freaking nightmare.
Well, you didn't do the Obama thing. You're not-
No, but the fact that I have
Regular
to wait a
healthcare.
certain amount of time. I don't even want to go into it, but it was the most annoying thing I've ever had to deal with in my life, mother.
Well, you'll appreciate it when you go to a doctor and you don't have to pay
Yeah.
their full price.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about this one.
Insurance is a good one.
So, so one more. Sorry to go back to Bitcoin. I missed this one. I usually put my ones in order, but Michael Saylor steps down as MicroStrategy CEO. Company takes a $917 million charge on Bitcoin. Ooh!
Yeah,
So imagine stepping down because you know Bitcoin's about to tank, and then that you get hit with that.
yeah.
Almost like I saw that and I was like, oh my god! I forget what it started at, but
Yeah, that's a harsh one.
yeah.
I don't know that company. What do they do? MicroStrategy.
They're a just like regular bank. Like they don't mine or anything. They're a buyer and seller.
Oh,
So
secondary
I
market.
guess the shareholders or chairman said, "Hey, buy this much." Whoever makes that decision, the CEO was like, "I'm out."
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause we're about to lose a lot of money here. I'm out.
I'm moving on.
I don't know how much they're evaluated at, but I mean, they have to be a multi-billion-dollar company. But if he steps down, that tells me either he's the one that made the decision, it was a bad decision,
Yeah.
and they just kicked him out, like
Yeah.
fired him, or he just got out because he knew it was going to happen.
Well, sometimes they have things built into their contract where they could leave at certain times and still make a lot of money.
I mean, if he sold off all of his stock, I don't know. He probably did, but they don't have it in this article.
Well, is it stock or Bitcoin?
It was Bitcoin, but I'm saying if he sold his stock beforehand, like insider trading, because you know this is going to happen,
Oh,
right? When a CEO does that, it's pretty obvious.
yeah. Well, we'll find out if he's in trouble after a while.
So any podcast, a lot of people, I'll throw some stuff in. Like I'll ask in the Discord if anyone has anything we want to talk about,
Oh.
like any specific stuff. I didn't get the chance to
It's
go
like
through
questions
this.
from the audience.
Yeah, like just stuff that they wanted to
Q&A
talk
from the
about. But
audience?
I forget this one. Chef Pie, the creator. So who put this in? I think this was Blue Ninja. But Chef Pie, the creator of viral TikTok pink sauce, has been seeing readings. They don't about. Okay, so this lady
Yeah.
came up with this sauce. No one knows really what's in it, just like, but people are real. It costs $20 a bottle,
Mm-hmm.
90 million, whatever. But now it looks like she's getting some real backlash because it's not safe.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Ma, are you saying you wouldn't buy something from a
No.
random lady on TikTok?
Well, first of all, pink sauce, anything, not kosher.
It looks
Not
like
kosher.
Benadryl. It looks
That's
straight
what I mean.
Benadryl.
Benadryl or Pepto-Bismol. That's why pink is not a go-to color for a sauce if you got options.
Food science babe defends Chef Pie. I guess that's a person from the internet. Dog pile. Legitimate. Okay, there are enough real known concerns regarding this product. This isn't sort of true crime where you need to solve something. It's pretty apparent that there are issues regarding labeling for formula and packaging. Like, hey, you didn't think about that? You don't think maybe the ingredients should be on the back when you sell a product massively?
Well, then again, we've had a vaccine that nobody's known what's been in it.
Demonetized.
I didn't say it was bad. I just said nobody knows what's in it. That's all I said.
So CHIPS Act passes U.S. This is why I wanted to, because you brought this kind of up before. So Zia asked this: U.S. has passed a CHIPS and Science Act. Package worth $280 billion includes a $52 billion in subsidies to entice companies to manufacture silicone semiconductors in the United States. So
Yeah, let's just keep funding it and never doing it.
that
Cha-ching. Who's making money, Chris?
So-
Where is
Yeah,
it going?
exactly.
Because it's not going into any of these companies. They wind up building them, shutting
Well-
them down, or never opening them up.
To answer the question though, like, what do I think about that? I think that was this doesn't have anything to do with gaming. I think the person that sent this thought that it would have to do with like chips in a computer.
Oh,
This is quantum computing, so very different.
Yeah.
A quantum computer. So in computers, let me give you a little tech knowledge real fast. So if I put a quantum computing CPU in my computer, it won't make a difference because you have something called bottlenecking. So basically, all the other components of a computer won't be able to keep up with something that's
Right.
quantum computing.
right.
So this doesn't affect us as gamers. It does affect like the chip shortage. This is more so for government to kind of have the technological advances to be ahead of other countries. So
Okay.
like that's what I think. But I don't know. I can't do the breakdown of I don't know what goes into that. My level of scientific knowledge is like, I don't know where 280 billion goes into. I'm sure it's research, making the chips and stuff.
No, I'm sure it's somebody's pocket. That's
Yeah,
what
that's-
it is.
yeah.
Okay?
And then they say, hey, we just want to.
Wise up, people. Do the math. It never works out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
it's
I
everybody gets a piece. The guy who brought the deal gets a piece. The senator who pushes it, the lobbyists that get the senator or the representative to push it, they get a piece. Everyone makes money when all's said and done.
Right.
You got a few $1 billion, and no, it never happened.
It
We
might
changed our mind.
affect.
It's like the Batgirl of the U.S. government.
It might, to answer your question, it might affect the amount of chips that come out. Probably slightly, because you don't need that many quantum compute. Like there's a limit to how many. All because you have 4 quantum computings doesn't mean it becomes 16 times faster. It just means that you have more computing different things. So it's really not going to affect the overall chips in computers, like your Macs, your PCs. But you might see the price of semiconductors in chips go up a little bit. Truth be told, they're not that expensive for single core, multi-core threading. The whole package is expensive. So this part going into the manufacturing of chips really won't affect
Maybe
us.
they'd be better off spending the money to upgrade the other parts.
Yeah,
to make
that's
the
all.
quantum
Yeah.
functional.
Well, we have quantum compute. Like there are graphics cards out there that you won't have that bottleneck, but those aren't made for gaming. Like
No.
they're not. There's no.
This is what we're going to use when we take on the free world war and battle. The Chinese. We're going to win.
Yeah, I just
Let's
don't.
say China, maybe, for instance.
I'm gonna get demonetized 2 podcasts in a
I'm
row.
just throwing it out there.
We're only on number 6.
China, maybe Russia. Throw them in the mix too.
Intel and Micron. So yeah. So like Intel and Micron will do quantum computing chips. They're really the main ones. AMD only does gaming chips. So yeah, it really won't affect us. I know.
Phew! Thank God I can sleep tonight. I was worried about that.
Yeah, you like cell phones?
That
That's the same truth as
that quantum computing keeps me up at night.
Now this one,
I'm lucky I know how to work that Mac.
yeah, right. I just set up my mom's whole Mac the other day. Chris, how do I right click? I was like, what the fuck? She's like, what the hell do you mean it's 2 fingers?
Well, let me tell you, I'm an expert now. I'm over those mail folders.
Oh my god.
I do it for fun now. Ooh, we're gonna move these over too.
Yeah,
I don't need them.
My
but
mom
I'm gonna move
my
over.
mom was trying to get her. My mom got a new Mac, trying to move her files over from one to the other, but it's files within mail, and it was
Yep.
such a nightmare because
Yep.
apparently you have to. I've never done that before.
Well, we
But
learned.
My mom is borderline OCD when it comes to her mail.
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
never seen so
That's
many
true.
folders in mail. My mom had like 20 folders with 100 folders in
it's
each.
true. I am pretty organized with stuff like that.
Last question. What are your thoughts on, I think, the House passing a ban on assault rifles? I had to look this one up. Apparently today or yesterday, ban on assault
Yeah, it's
rifles.
not getting through the Senate, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's very, I think it was 8 days ago, actually. I forget how I put it because it was there. Ban on assault. Oh, that's 2019. I just saw it before. I forget how I wrote it, but hey, yeah, let's put the article in next time, so I don't have to freaking hunt this shit down. Yeah, I saw it before, but basically it was like a house ban on something, but it was only certain types of assault rifles, but it didn't give me the what's bannable and what's not.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that it would give me like a list of what's bannable under certain rifles, but they didn't give me anything.
Well, I
under
like
that.
the ones who are like the AR-15.
Yeah, which so for those of you that don't know,
Wanna
AR
ban
doesn't
the
stand
AR.
for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite.
I don't know, but they
Yeah,
give the wrong
Armalite
number.
rifle.
And AK, it's an AK-47, like the AK-15.
It's an AK-58.
Yeah,
Doesn't even exist.
AK-15.
Everyone's like, what? That's like when remember when Biden was like, I'm tired of all these assault rifles. These pistols are getting out of control or
Oh
something
my
like that.
God.
You didn't know the difference, but I couldn't see. I wish that someone sent me the article so I could know what you exactly were talking about. But.
I'm waiting for somebody who's actually really smart and says things like, why don't we focus more on mental health issues in this country?
Yeah.
And banning what they just came out and said the major drug that they've been using for depression, turns out it doesn't work.
The
They've been monitoring serotonin levels in the brain. So all the drugs for depression.
So what's funny is I think Tom Cruise said something about that years ago, and they just proved that.
Yeah.
And now Tom Cruise is like a hero. Everyone's like, he was right.
Well,
Something's up with the amount of
Scientologists,
Yeah.
they don't believe in, chemical drugs in general, especially for mental health things, and they think it's fake it's unnecessary. That's how they look at it. But the science that has been based on for so long now, now they're finding or they're questioning if it's valid. So all these antidepressants that so many of these violent mass shooters have at some point in life been on or something similar to it may not even be doing the job it's supposed to be doing and could be messing up their brains.
Right.
So I think
you can say that about a lot of medications, like ADD.
Oh no, I know.
medication.
Yeah. Well, they're all in the same vein. Things that treat one thing.
Anything mental.
But now you got to really call into question the statistics and whatnot. But not saying that that's the only cause. But I think we're finding so many things that are mental health issues, and are not, gun issues. They're not.
It's almost like
educational issues.
It's almost like these companies are making these medications for profit, mother.
Oh my gosh. Dad and I were watching TV last night, and it wasn't even a medical channel. Every other commercial was for a pharmaceutical product.
I saw a statistic that, I think it was 70% of all commercials are medication.
Yeah.
It might be higher than that.
Anybody from outside this company would think that we are falling apart as human beings.
Yeah.
Because it's so bad that it's not medicine for depression. It's medicine to help medicine that treats your depression.
Right, something that combine, yeah. People, yeah. It's not good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to minimize people's mental health issues. I would never do that. But wake up, America. I mean, we need to evaluate this. It's getting out of hand here.
Yeah, the medical. I mean, we know a lot about the medical company, but
and it concerns me. So many
industry.
young people who've got young. When I say young, going through COVID. How many young people are depressed? They're turning to medication.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a short-term thing. I hope it's short-term. But are they getting talk therapy? I mean, that always, the older generation, that was always the primary, because we didn't have the drugs you have today. So it was talk therapy, and you were in therapy, and there was a stigma with that back then. Now everybody's got a therapist. But now we just automatically turn to the pills. And we're looking at the science
it's
and saying,
cheaper and more time-consuming than therapy, right? That's probably the answer that a lot of them are using.
Well, in your generation, talking, you don't have the attention span. You want the quick fix. Everybody wants a quick fix. Parents who are desperate, they want a quick fix. But now we're finding that not only are these things maybe not doing what they're supposed to do, or not doing the level that you're expecting, they could be damaging young people to the point they get older and something triggers it, and they're susceptible, and now we have to deal with weapons bans.
Yeah, the long-term effects is something that we still don't know about a lot of these drugs.
Right.
That's really, because for medical testing, whenever you come out, I think I talked about this last time, but whenever something has to go through 7 years of testing before it can go out to the market.
Yeah.
So whether it's Advil, and then, say you have Advil and then Advil for dogs.
Unless it's a vaccine.
My mom's trying to get me banned on YouTube.
That's a fact. I'm not. Is what it is.
Right.
But they didn't go through 7 years of testing.
And the problem with that is, even though we have those 7 years of testing, you don't know what the long-term effects are. That we end up figuring out much later, because you're not gonna go through 40 years of drug trials.
They have pulled many drugs that even after the 7 years, they put it out there in the marketplace. Obviously, not on the level of, say, a pandemic, but they've had a certain number of deaths, and there's a threshold, and the FDA pulls it. They say, okay, we can't issue that anymore, and doctors are no longer allowed to prescribe it, and then they have to tweak it, go through the process again. So, yeah, I mean, there is a process, but, so many of these, to your point, I mean, every other commercial is pharmaceutical, the power of the pharmaceutical companies. We're finding data gets fudged, people ram things through, medications get out there.
Yeah. What baffles me is when you look into these companies, these big medical companies' pasts. Now everyone's starting to dig stuff up. A lot of these companies have been in multi-billion-dollar lawsuits for drugs that they said worked and didn't work.
Right.
It's incredible how much bullshit they put out there.
Well, and I don't know the process that well, but I do know on the flip side.
Yeah.
These companies are forced to put a lot of money into research and development, and they go through multiple phase trials that the FDA puts them through. And it could take them years and years and years to issue a medication.
Yeah. And I just want to say, there's medicines that work. There's no question about it. There's medicines that work.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys thinking that all medicine is bad.
Scientologist,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. But there's definitely something to the medical industry, especially in like the last 10 years, I would say.
Yes.
Where we're pushing out drugs that didn't go through the proper testing. Kids are getting them, like ADD medicine, which not necessarily bad for you, but we don't know the long-term effects of ADD medicine. And for those of you that don't know, ADD medicine is just methamphetamine.
Yes.
Methamphetamine without one
Certain
molecule,
ones.
which is
now they're doing more
like
different
Ritalin.
formularies.
I think Ritalin, I believe, is the methamphetamine one. There's one other one that I don't have.
Well, we know
Vyvanse
people years ago, like decades ago, but they were misdiagnosed. And they were put on Ritalin because they thought they had ADD. Turns out they didn't. They were autistic. So they took Ritalin for something that didn't really help them.
At a young age,
At
too.
a young age.
Very young age.
Yes. That's another concern. I mean, God bless parents that have to deal with that on a daily basis, especially extreme situations. But all the more reason why you got to take a pause here because we've made mistakes with this. And
yeah. So
a pill
is not a pill right away is not usually the answer, I would say. Maybe in some cases, but
well, and you have to be extra cautious with kids. What is it? The frontal lobe is fully formed at the age of, they used to say 23.
25 now
it's 26. I thought it was 25, 26. So, obviously at that age you've already gone through puberty, but all these young children that are still developing, their brains developing, their bodies developing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, it's not developing right if they have ADD. Okay, and we're better about diagnosing that nowadays.
Right.
But I got to tell you, with everything
Well,
we've been seeing...
these don't help with the ADD.
No, they do
cell
not.
phones.
They
Terrible.
do not. And that's why you have more people that mimic ADD. They may not clinically have it.
Yeah.
But
you might just have a kid that doesn't care about what he's learning in class.
Or
and they go, ADD.
Conditioned to, be that way. But I just think it's more important that with everything going on with the psychiatric community, I mean, Tavistock in England, right? Is that what it's called, Tavistock Hospital? They just shut it down.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, I just saw the article from the nurse that was there. So years ago, they had a handful of usually young boys with gender dysphoria. That was a male issue. She said maybe we had 6 or 7, right? And then she continues to talk about the progression. Her husband's a psychoanalyst who worked there too. She was one nurse of a handful of people. In a short amount of time, a group came in named the Mermaid something, which they focus on gender dysphoria issues. And as she put it, they just came in with an agenda. Years later, it exploded, where there was all these young women now coming in. They never had that before. It was mostly young men, all claiming that automatically after one visit they were put on medication. So the
one visit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she was getting a lot of flack for it, and there was a couple of the doctors, but the gist of her article, in conjunction with what we're saying, is I don't know what has happened to the psychiatric community.
Well,
I really think there needs to be an accountability. As professionals, they need to look in the mirror a little bit and say how many of these issues that are going on. I mean, any decently trained psychiatrist just has to look at one profile of these shooters and say, there's one aspect here that I might know something about. Maybe not the only reason why a person becomes that way, but it's not just the gun.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to get to the root cause.
Joe Rogan says it best. Think of how deadly a car is.
Yes.
And every day people are driving, and no one's swerving off the road, going after tons of people, except for like maybe once in a while.
Right. We're seeing more of it.
And they end up being, and then they blame you always blame the person behind the wheel.
Right.
You always blame, if someone does arson, you're not going to blame the flame. You're going to blame the person that does arson. Mm-hmm. I don't know why when it comes to guns, it's the gun's fault. And not the person's fault.
Well, we know why.
Yeah, it's mental. So
no, we know why the government goes after the guns.
Oh yeah, I was talking about we know that it's not the guns; it's the mental.
Right.
Yeah, that's different. That's different pathway.
No, but my point is that the psychiatric community needs to start taking more of a stand and say, "Hey, there's more going on here than just the gun."
Agreed.
And they don't do that. They're going in the opposite direction. They're affirming everybody's whims and 10 years ago, gender dysphoria was a mental health issue. I personally still think it is. Okay? That doesn't mean I'm homophobic, transphobic, or anything else. What I'm saying is, if you really want to fix people's issues, I don't think they're going in the right direction. And I'm not even a clinically trained psychiatrist. So I think they have to really start looking at more aspects than just the guns.
I think when it comes to gender dysmorphia, now, I do have a say in this because
Dysphoria.
What did I say?
I don't know.
Whatever.
What,
but as
what
the only
salad
one with
you
the
got going.
psychology degree in the entire family.
Yes.
I think it's... So, because it's so new and there's not too many psychologists or psychiatrists who are gender dysmorphic or whatever, I guess it's kind of the argument of we don't really know how to help these people who are gender... Like, you don't learn about this in school. Like, when I was at Scranton,
now
we learn about it all the time.
You learn about it in grammar school.
Yeah. But, I mean from, like, how to treat it perspective. Like, how does if I had someone come to me, go to my chair and say, I don't believe I'm a guy, even though I'm a guy, how does, like, I don't know what you would do. And the other problem is, besides blaming the psychiatrist or psychologist, I think a lot of it also has to do with doctors who go, oh, you don't feel this way, let's just start cutting, let's start changing things, put you on some kind of hormone that will change you to what you want to be. And I blame doctors to a certain extent, and then I blame the companies that are pushing the hormone as someone who knows a lot about the hormonal stuff from being in gyms, bodybuilder gyms and stuff, once you start messing with hormones, there's no going back.
That's
I mean, I know a lot of guys that put stuff in their body that they probably shouldn't, but know what they're doing. If I was a 16-year-old girl who wanted to be a guy and I'm starting testosterone, I feel like people don't understand what that would do to you. Like, you don't realize it until you're 18 years old and all of a sudden your body's doing stuff that you did not want.
And I can't believe, because there's no accountability, the psychiatric community, the ones that are, take it seriously, who want to speak out, they know what's coming down the road. They know how devastating this is going to be to so many people who never had legitimate gender dysphoria.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
how do you go from a handful of kids, mostly male, to an explosion where she said the clinic was out of control.
Out of control, right? Yeah.
And they're just automatically, because pharmaceuticals push the drugs, they make money. They're automatically throwing these hormone drugs at these kids. They're doing the surgeries, okay?
Right.
And at a time where we've had an explosion with social media, right? Most girls are saying are getting influenced. There's girls getting tics from something on TikTok, and they're developing physical issues.
Yeah, physical tics.
Okay, so don't tell me they're not getting influenced by what they see. Many are bored. Many want to rebel. Many are devastated from COVID. They're looking for something, and they're getting the attention from it, too. They're like, everybody thinks it's so great and wonderful, or people in their circle. So it's appealing to say, oh, I must have gender issues. But to take it to the extreme, as a psychiatric community, even medical doctors, I do agree. You better be serious, because you're going to get sued if you're wrong.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think that doctors do have to have more accountability.
If you do that,
if you start cutting
you're
things off,
going to see more doctors put the brakes on.
Yeah, I don't know how a 13-year-old girl can come to a doctor and say, I want to get things changed, and the doctor's just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's usually it's more so plastic surgeons, right? I don't believe doctors do that. So when I say, I mean people more so in the plastic surgery era. Yeah. Not all doctors are bad, but again, as I said before, what do you call a doctor that graduates with D's? Doctor.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, some of them may think they're doing the right thing. They think these individuals are, and don't get me wrong, there are legitimate people who have this issue, but they went through a lot of therapy, and many of those original people are even now saying it was a mistake. Not all of them, but they're turning around, and that was before this explosion and this recent, everybody now is confused as to what they want to be, or we're more open to it being fluid. This was back in the days when it was very difficult to go through the process. They did it, they went through it, they thought it helped them, and now they're even turning around and saying, I regret it, and I can't change it anymore.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I wish I knew this guy's name. There's this guy, I'm sure everyone has seen him at least once. He's questioning these people about what is a woman. Have you seen this guy?
Yeah.
You might know him, he's got the glasses and the beard. I wish I knew his name. But he goes around to all these people, and then one person was trans, so they transitioned. They talked about how terribly it changed their life. Yes. It was the worst decision they made. And props to that person for not pushing an agenda and saying, it's the worst thing I ever did.
Yes.
And actually giving the truth about, like, what actually happens. No one talks about really how it affected their life hormonally. Like when
Right.
you're just throwing hormones into your body,
Yes.
certain amounts, but everyone's body takes different amounts, and they don't talk about that. Like for testosterone, for instance, just because I know a lot of guys on excessive testosterone, you have a certain limit, right? So you have from 200 to 1200. If you go above that, technically you're taking steroids at that point. For a female who doesn't take any testosterone to begin with, they don't know what their actual dosage is. So if
Right.
I give you 1200, if you're already at 200,
Right.
you're taking steroids,
Right.
essentially. You're taking hormones that your body cannot handle.
Right.
So when you do that, when you're a female going to a man,
Yeah.
you're going to have, it's not, oh, I'm a man now. It's, hey, my body can't handle what's going on here. No one's talking to them about
But
that.
they're also doing double mastectomies.
Oh,
These
yeah.
women are mutilating their
Yeah.
bodies, and men are mutilating their bodies.
And there's no going back.
Exactly.
There's no going
I mean,
back.
you can't, if they decide legitimately, you know what, I made a mistake. We all do.
And again, we're not saying that there aren't people out there who have body dysmorphia who truly.
That's right.
But the numbers don't make sense of to
That's
how
right.
many people. And you're changing your life
That's right.
for good. There's no going back. You can't be halfway through taking all these hormones and go, I don't like this. I want to be a girl again.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, and okay, so I'll equate it to this.
You're well,
We
hold
have
on. You're hormonally scarring yourself for life.
Right, in a similar vein, but not exactly. It's like we have an explosion of diabetes. So what do you do? Say, okay, so everybody knows it's okay to have diabetes, and let's just give you the meds. Okay, you have to do that. It's whatever. But at some point, you got to ask the question: why do we have an explosion of diabetes? You got to figure out the cause, especially like for children. To just deny it and say, well, it must be a new thing, and everybody's going to have it. That's not an answer. We didn't have this many. Our bodies evolving? Are people, going through an evolution process? Or is it something like, gee, I don't know. A lot of people are overweight.
Right.
People are watching what they eat. People don't exercise as much anymore. People are eating processed foods. I mean, you still got to treat people with diabetes. I get it. But do you go all in and say, well, let's just live a life with with insulin and call it done? Or do you start saying, let's backtrack. Maybe there's something we could do to fix it. Well, that's not a quick fix.
I saw a thing on. Someone brought up a good point. I think it might have been Shane Gillis, the comedian.
Yeah.
I think he said this in a comedy bit.
I know what you mean.
But when we go to other countries, you don't see Down syndrome as often. You don't see certain levels of autism or Asperger's as often. So I think the processed food, I think there's something more to processed foods that we don't know about.
Well,
like, I don't know if it's processed foods, but I think that there's something
that
we're doing wrong.
But you have to remember, some countries, like for instance Iceland, they boast at the fact that they have no Down syndrome children because they abort them all.
Right.
So they don't have any Down syndrome children. It's perfectly
No.
acceptable to do that. Other countries, depending on the country, not all of them obviously, but many of them, they have legislated abortion. So for people who know they're having Down syndrome, it's easier, if they choose to, it's easier for them to abort those children. So they have lower rates
Right.
of abortion, of Down syndrome children. Autism and ADD, for instance, those things you can't prenatal screen.
Right.
And there's always that question, what do you do when you can prenatal screen for it? Right?
Do you have any other articles? Did you have anything you wanted to talk about for? I don't know if you had.
Well, we've covered the
Hey, Bob.
recent legislation.
Yeah, like you didn't have anything in your. Like I'm all done. We plowed through everything.
No, I didn't want whatever you want to talk about. I didn't mind,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. If
We
you don't
talked
have.
about gaming too, and
Yeah, we
time
went through
spent
everything.
on it and
We talked about
whatnot.
Batgirl and everything.
We've talked about
Yeah,
Batgirl.
not
I
bad.
guess.
Again, next time with your articles, we just have to put them in a folder so I have it because I couldn't grab the ones that you had off my phone.
Yeah, I mean,
in
I haven't
terms-
had any. We're kicking into the midterm, so a lot of the stuff is about candidates and elections and the direction of the country and where it's going. And
Yeah.
my big issue is for your generation and the other ones. I think it's harder for you guys because you might be the tail end of learning about government and whatnot. So many younger people will soon be of voting age. They're not learning about their country. They don't understand how it
functions, how it works.
right, and everyone's starting to take it for granted, and you're all isolated, and your only source is what you get
Online, yeah.
online, what you see
And
online.
then the problem with online is what's right,
It's
what's
filtered.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it's filtered.
It's
unless
filtered
you know
or
where
it's
to
too
go.
unfiltered to the point where you don't know who's right. That's the other
That is
downside.
true, too,
There's,
right.
The medium is not there. Like the
Well,
the
yeah, because
center.
you also don't have like I could pick out what's right and wrong because I have the civics background. We all
Right.
got that in my age group. You got the basics. Even with the basics, though, I'll tell you, I wasn't that. A lot of people aren't clued
Well, I
into
think that's
it
why
when you're in
people
your
like
20s and
Rogan do so
30s.
well. Like Joe Rogan does so well because he's having experts in the field on his podcast and doing it that way. So those people are usually correct because they're people that.
Well, there's a lot of people out there who think they're experts and they're not. You know, it's only as good as the information, and you have to have a certain degree of knowledge when they're talking to you about things. But especially when it comes, what I always say is when it comes to your government, wherever you live, no matter what your profession is, it's going to affect you. So, like when we were in school, kids would be like, "Well, I'm never running for office, so I don't really care about how the election works." You have to care.
Wow. I can't even imagine that anymore.
Oh no,
I can't even, like, my brain can't.
No, they don't even teach it anymore.
Yeah.
That's what makes it worse. So what was I just saying this to? Maybe it was my friend, but just a handful of years ago, maybe 3, 4, it was definitely before COVID. Teachers were always legitimately complaining. We can't get through the curriculum every year because we have so much we have to do.
Right.
Anybody out there right now who's been years ago clued in? That's as parents, that's what we always heard. As taxpayers, we always heard that. It's hard enough for us to get through the day, we can't get through it. But now all of a sudden we're introducing all this woke ideology into the classroom. How come they now have time for that?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So something's falling by the wayside. And I was just telling your dad, I saw some statistic, and I'm just throwing it out there without to back it up. I think it was New Jersey, but I'm not sure. Like 50% of the kids are at lower reading level. They can't read at their
We
reading
were already
level.
like one of the lowest. Well, I think we were one of the least educated countries curriculum wise.
Well, we're falling. We keep falling,
Yeah.
falling. But I'm just scratching my head saying, how is it before COVID? All we heard about was, as teachers were stretched, we can't get through the curriculum. They had all the Common Core stuff. You had a little bit of that before you got out of the school system. Mike had more of it. Common Core. Oh, it's so challenging. We can't get through. Now all of a sudden we can introduce all these other new concepts during the school day, and yet I'm not seeing improvements. Now, do we care? I don't have any kids in the school system, but I'm a taxpayer paying for this, and the value of my property is based on the school system that we live in. So you do care because we're paying for it, and I'm just, I feel like the stuff they shovel at us, and then on top of it, I know there's plenty of teachers out there, I don't know them personally, but they've said, we don't want to teach this stuff. We'd rather teach the other stuff that's going to value these kids more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised how many teachers are like that. Like, you think all the teachers are woke, but someone was telling me his wife's a teacher, and he said there's only like one teacher on the board that's for it, and everyone else is against it, but they can't speak out because the higher ups are like, well, if one person, like you got to help the kid or whatever it is.
And the media was just mocking Governor DeSantis down there in Florida because he was like, this woke ideology, we don't want it, and the media came back, and all these other groups were like, they stop saying the woke stuff. It's he's so misleading, blah blah blah. And then they literally have a guy on a school board in Sarasota say, "We've got the woke agenda. We have your back. We're gonna do what we want to do and force this in the schools." Literally, what the governor said is going on, and everybody said no. Within a span of like less than a month, that this has been happening. Again, it's Florida. Do we care? Well, taxpayers care.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the future of these kids. It's not my family's kids, but that's the future of this country.
Well, those are the future that are going to be voting.
Right.
So.
And they're going to vote things that will impact you more than me. And they have no clue. So that was a big issue for me. And I could bring you 50 articles on that, so we could go for hours and hours. But that encompasses a lot of things, because all these things, the guns and the gaming and all that, that's your future.
Yeah.
What's their take on it? Their only information is what comes from whatever media platform they want to look at and learn from. And I think it's a real issue that has to be addressed for, as you said, you have enough knowledge where you could pick through and say, all right, Rogan's
genius,
got a guy on
but
there.
whatever.
Well,
I'm like the Jimmy Neutron of.
I don't watch a lot of Rogan, but he has had some people on there that, I question. But it's another point of view. He brings them on, and I give him credit for doing that. But you also have to have some background with some of these people to know who's shoveling it and who's serious. Same thing in the war room. He has some people on there that turned out to be disasters.
Oh,
You know,
really?
oh, yeah. People that claim, oh, I'm going to do this, going to do that. And then they get in there and they'll, you start
I like to think
questioning what they
Bannon
do.
calls him out. You swine!
Well, he's had people out on the show that he's ripped into to no end, and they want to come on because it's like Rogan. He's got a big platform, and they're not stupid. They, they need that platform. But any site that I'm not just saying these because those just happen to be ones that we're familiar with. I just feel bad because we have a baseline to compare these people to. There's so many, like my friend always says, how can people get their news from The View?
Oh, The View. Oh, my God. Right, that's the Whoopi Goldberg one?
Yeah, that's where people get their news from. Now, it's not your generation per se. It's usually older people. But, you ask some of them or tell them some current event thing, they have no clue.
That's like, what's that name? What's the name of that lady? The gossiper. What's her name? The black woman. She has a show. Remember, she passed out.
Wendy Williams.
Wendy Williams, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Her show. I don't understand how people watch that.
Well, she was an entertainment show, and she gave her opinion, which is fine. This other crew, they act like they're the news. It's all their opinion.
I've never even seen it. I just see them taking hits like crazy.
Yeah,
all 5 people watching?
Well, I watched the original when Barbara Walters started that show, and she had a nice mix of people. But then I lost interest. It wasn't my kind of show. But I took it for what it was, a bunch of women giving their opinion. Now, some people out there treat that like, oh, I gotta watch the
God's
news.
word.
Yeah, like what they say is the news. That's the
It's
kind
like people
of
with
stuff.
Jeopardy.
Well, but what's
It's like Grandma with Jeopardy. I gotta watch it.
Gotta watch my Jeopardy. But at least you learn something from Jeopardy. The other ones, it's an opinion. It's not based on a lot of facts. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just scares me that there are people my age and older who take this as like gospel, like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Please, people,
When you have 4 people that agree on something all the time, that's usually a bad sign.
Or they beat up on the one person who disagrees.
Yeah.
So that's not a healthy balance.
Yeah, but all right. I mean, we're getting on that one just because I don't even know how much time we have left. But I don't know how often you want to do this. I do call, but you will have to deal with the gaming stuff too if you want.
Yeah.
But
From time to time,
other than
I don't
that,
mind it.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, I only record it once a week.
Okay.
Other than Saturdays.
Well,
it's only 3.
See what your people say.
Yeah.
They may say, "Don't ever put that loudmouth lady on ever again."
She's not even into games. She just she called us idiots before. Only thing I have to promote, guys, social media down below. All the videos from last week down below. Discord server down below for the podcast questions, news stuff. Try putting more articles in so we do have something a little more to talk about. And then, other than that, I'll see you guys at stream.
They put the articles in?
Yeah, they put them in Discord. I have a Discord server now.
Shout out to Kenny, Alan, Matt
Sprague or Matt
Grant, Matt, both Matts. Jason.
My mom's got to do her whole stuff. Any family members? Uncle Ray?
I don't think they watch it, do they?
Your siblings?
I'm saying it to the ones that watch it. Mike, I better put Mike on there. I'm sure
Mike doesn't watch my shit. Mike doesn't care.
Yeah, he's not the favorite brother.
But yeah, so social media, promo codes down below, Discord server down below. And that's pretty much it, guys. So we'll see you at stream in the next one.
Bye, all.